Hurricane season is now just a few days away, starting June 1st. Meteorologists say we're looking at storm surges for coastal areas, high winds, and inland flooding, which the National Weather Service says has a major impact in the Big Bend, South Georgia, and Southeast Alabama area. We take you inside the National Weather Service for a look at what you need to know this season.
We don't want to take any storm lightly. We always want to prepare because it only takes one storm.
Kelly Godsey, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, warns one storm could take out an entire community. He says take Tropical Storm Debbie, for instance, which flooded people out of their homes nearly a year ago.
Debbie was a tropical system that's a great reminder to us that it doesn't have to be a hurricane to produce a lot of damage.
Damage that results from dangerous threats like storm surges and abnormal rising of water after a major storm hits. That's huge concern for this upcoming hurricane season.
Storm surge isn't something that just stops right at the dune line. It may go many miles inland. And indeed, in our part of the Gulf, we're one of the more storm surge vulnerable locations in the entire country.
Godsey says the surge can take out homes, wash away cars, and completely destroy communities, which is why meteorologists are reminding you to check your hurricane kit list and get what you need now.
People need, before they get into hurricane season, supplies are going to be cheapest now, and really there's not going to be a rush for supplies before hurricane season starts.
Meteorologist Max Paris recommends the usual: gallons of water, canned foods, and non-perishable items and boards for your home. And after you pack away your essentials, having a plan, Godsey says, is key.
Knowing that you need to evacuate is going to save your life and likely your family's life.
And meteorologist Max Paris joining me right now to talk a little bit more about hurricane season and this crazy weekend weather, obviously, around the country. And, just tell me why does it seem like hurricane season has kind of getting a little bit more intense? Yeah.
Exactly. Well, we've been looking at the last several years more intense storms, not necessarily that many more. We have had some historic hurricane seasons, but you look back climatologically on hurricane season back before we had satellite data and stuff like that. And basically, if a hurricane didn't come ashore, we didn't know it was even out there unless a boater was out there, and frankly that boater probably didn't make it through the storm. So it just looks like we're seeing more hurricanes, but you bring up a great point that they have been becoming more intense, and that's because the role climate change is playing. Not necessarily global warming. Scientists are sort of going away from that phrase now, because if one place is getting warmer on this globe, another place is getting colder. So we're seeing just more extremes in the temperature contrast, and that's why we're getting more intense storms, like Sandy last year, and of course Katrina several years back.
And are these considered more of the normal weather patterns?
They're not necessarily considered normal, but it's really hard considering something to be normal. That's why when we talk about our climatological stats, like we say, oh, our high temperature today was this and our low was this, we don't say our normal temperature is this, it was not 89 degrees for a high. We say our average high temperature, because nothing is normal when it comes to the meteorological world. Everything fluxes and everything varies, so nothing is necessarily normal. So I would consider that we're just seeing this pattern on the increase because of the role climate change has been playing over the last half century or so.
Right, and what do you, when you talk about going into June and the May months, obviously, what is the normal, typical weather for those patterns? For the Southeast specifically, obviously we start to see us go into more of a summer-like pattern where we have some afternoon pop-up storms that start to occur. Not right now. We're pretty dry right now, Brittany, but you start to see definitely a little bit more of the humidity, definitely some more consistent with our temperatures being in the low 90s, lows being in the 60s, but that's specifically in the Southeast. You saw how wild the temperature range has been all around the United States with the Memorial Day weekend that we saw a little bit earlier in the show. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me now. Very good information there.
Thank you.